Thank you. Let me put my mic on. That's better. That's my mistake over for the evening. Hopefully there'll be no more. Okay. Good evening. We need to do the fire drill. I'll ask my new vice chairman if he can just read the fire procedures.
Thank you,
please.
Chairman. Firstly, councillors, could I ask you if you've got mobile phones, please, that you put them to silent or you turn them off? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are not expecting the fire drill today, so if the fire alarm sounds, you will evacuate the building. There are 2 fire exits from this room. One is through the double doors where you came in, and the other door is to the right of the stage, which leads to the external fire escape. Please note that you should not use the lift in any circumstances in the event of a fire. In the event of evacuation, we meet to the left of the driveway at the main entrance to Thorpe Lodge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we receive declarations of interest, please?
Chairman, for openness, I was just going to raise a declaration for all Twin Hatters in the room. So that's Councillor Adams, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Gurney and Councillor Peck. It doesn't preclude any conversation here. It's just worthwhile noting for openness and transparency.
And apologies for absence, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from the following councillors: Clancy, Copplestone, Crotch, Folger, Harrison, Hempsall, Laming, Leggett, J. Leggett, and sorry, do apologise. Laming, Mackey, Neeson, Potter, Riley, Roper, Starling, J. Thomas, Vincent, Ward, and Wymark.
Okay, do we have any others from the floor? No? Right, in which case we'll progress and move to the business of the evening. Can I ask the leader to introduce the paper, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everybody. So before you have the papers. Within those, you'll find there's an overview of the Levelling Up agenda, contents of the in principle county deal for Norfolk, and the proposed areas for consideration as part of the consultation response. I'd like to start by being very clear. This is a deal for Norfolk. This is the only deal available. Effectively, it's this deal or no deal. And what we are seeking is for it to be the best deal it can be for Norfolk that enables investment and growth. The initial draft of Broadland's consultation response is in Appendix 1. And tonight I would like to present a number of amendments to you. These are contained in the summary of changes document and also in the revised consultation response that you've got. You'll be glad to know that I don't plan to go through every single one, but quite happy to do so if we want to make it a late night. So just to pick up on a few of the changes, many of the amendments link to the words principles of mayoral combined authority. And those have now been removed. By using these words, what I've found is the focus has incorrectly been on the mayoral combined authority element, rather than where the focus was intended on being with the more collaborative and participative approach that we were after. There is an element of moving some of the language into a positive frame. So there was one element where it talked about we do not disagree, and I've moved that over to we agree. So just taking out the double negative as such. Also then within the ratings, 2 of the ratings to the questions have been altered. So question 3 has been moved to agree. And this is the one that relates to the adult education budget should be moved from government to Norfolk County Council. What you will find in the text is, though, that it still says that the deal should go further by also seeking to include development of the local school plans. Question 6 has also been altered, and this has been moved to neither agree nor disagree. This one relates to the directly elected leader, and there is still so much of how this role will function that is unknown, that it's felt actually we can't go one way or the other. What this is, though, is a new model. It's untried and it's untested. This is actually one of the areas we would expect to see much more detail coming forward over the coming months. I've picked up the main changes, but I'm sure others here tonight will raise some points on other changes if they have particular concerns. All the changes are shown in the updated version of the consultation response that you have. Just to summarize, and picking up on our key asks from the consultation, is basically to allow all councils in Norfolk to work together collaboratively to deliver the devolved powers and functions to drive investment and growth. And the second one is to develop the detail and understanding of how the directly elected leader model will work. One thing we do need to do, though, is to create the headroom for Councillor Proctor, leader of the Norfolk County Council, between now and December to make, through negotiation with government, this to be the best deal that it can be. I would just like to reiterate what I said at the beginning about the county deal is the only deal. This question will be asked of the county councillors in December, and at that point they will make that judgment choice as to whether to go forward with the deal or to stop the deal. So I recommend to council that we approve the draft consultation response as in Appendix 1 as amended to the Norfolk County Council Constitution on a county deal for Norfolk, with any minor amendments delegated to the leader in consultation with the Managing Director and Monitoring Officer. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Peck, thank you. Okay. Open to debate. Councillor Holland.
Yeah, I have a question. I read an article some weeks ago which suggested that various leaders of district councils were prepared to challenge in court the right of the county councillors to make this decision in their cabinet. Am I to understand that we are no longer going forward with that? Can I ask who originally thought that would be a way forward? And could I ask how much they thought they were likely to have to spend on such a movement? Thank you.
Right. We'll gather questions at the end. Any other, unless that's the end of the debate. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to ask, the phrase more information over the coming months like that have kind of propped over the last few weeks. I was just wondering if the leader might want to comment if this consultation's a bit too early, if there's more information to come along for us to do a structured response. Thank you.
Okay, we'll keep that. Councillor Catchpole.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering
how have we been issued a document with the response as drafted, and then the amendments came through at the last minute today? In other words, why has the response that was composed been amended? And what has changed so that those amendments are felt necessary from the time that the response was drafted? I'm concerned over the potential retraction of the legal challenge, because that has been put in the public domain. And if it is no longer the case, then there should be a public explanation of why that has changed. And another question is, this proposed elected leader for Norfolk, is that a paid position? That's just the beginning of the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments on the paper? If not, Councillor Davis.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Number of comments. First of all, we're talking about the communities in Norfolk. There's very little reference to communities in Norfolk. I know it's going out to consultation to our residents, but this is going to impact hugely on residents, and it's how communities are going to benefit directly from. I mean, there are various aspects here which will have impacts, but I don't think there's been an assessment of how that will affect the character and what the implications are for communities. In particular, I mean, if we look at the points on, let's see, page 4 of the document, appendix, we've got bullet point 2 is give Norfolk a stronger business voice by providing more direct business input into decision making and strategic economic planning. Now, I know businesses are part of our community, but what about residents having an input into decision making and strategic economic planning? I think it's a real gap. In terms of the first bullet point, we've got target funding and resources to Norfolk's own priorities with a new investment fund of £20 million per year for 30 years. I'll agree, as in the amendment, that's paltry compared to both the county's deficit and it's over 30 years. Is that index linked? I think the comment has been made in the paper, so it isn't. And over 30 years, £20 million, it really isn't worth it in terms of funding. Sorry, I've got a number of other points as well, but maybe somebody else wants to.
I mean, carry on. We're not timing people. We're not timing people tonight until they get to 11 o'clock.
I'm sure you'll shut me up. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth bullet point on that list is open up housing and employment sites. I'm not sure about what this means in terms of driving regeneration housing. If you talk to residents, certainly in my ward, they say we already have enough housing. So what does this mean? Opening up for even further rampant development? I think that would be a concern, certainly for many residents, and we'll see that in the consultation probably. The next bullet point on investing in local transport planning and consolidate transport budgets. I note that it suggests an investment in better public transport, decarbonisation. That's great. But it also includes road building. And as you know, we're not particularly keen on further road building, adding to congestion as well as carbon emissions. And then finally, the points that have been made about having a council leader who is directly elected by the public. There's a real issue here of democratic accountability and representation. I think the word devolution can be interpreted in a variety of different ways. And and our feeling of devolution, we think is a good thing to devolve down to the lowest level. But actually what this is doing is concentrating power of decision making at the wrong level in an elected council leader. And as we've seen with this development of this paper, it's been a small coterie of individuals who have put this together. That's not really collaborative. So I support the comments that have been made about a much more collaborative approach required. But actually, overall, I couldn't support the deal as it is at the moment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for those comments. I will remind people that obviously you all have the opportunity to submit your own personal responses to this consultation. Councillor Harpley.
Thank you, Chair. Having had a look through, is there any kind of get out clause? Because I can't see anything about if we were unhappy with how things are progressing, is there any way for us to get a way out of it? Because I'm thinking of another situation where top office has been an almost hostage situation. What if we were in the same position with an elected leader who went rogue? How do we get out if things don't go the way that we thought they should do? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're holding all these questions. Councillor Beadle.
Thank you, Chair. I just found this completely anathema. Talking to my county colleagues, their budgets are being chopped right, left and centre by central government. The amount of money coming out of central government is just being sliced and diced. And what this is proposal is that the government are actually slicing and dicing the county budget. They're pulling back a lot of these slices to central government, and then they're giving us crumbs off the table. And they're actually marketing it as us getting extra money, whereas in actual fact, what is happening is they're clawing back a lot of money from local government. And this is actually just, I don't know what to call it without reverting to inappropriate language, Chairman, but it is actually not the right way to go. And it's not an option which we should be going down. It's not even devolution, definitely not subsidiarity, where you actually devolve power to the lowest possible level. And this is wrong. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Eden.
Hello. Yes, I just wanted to support the people who've been questioning this. I think the sort of the line "it's this or nothing" is not a very encouraging line, actually, and it doesn't fill us with confidence. There are too many unknowns actually in this deal, and as Councillor Davis said, although it sounds very impressive, but when you actually look into it, £20 million over 30 years is, and as you mentioned, we don't know if it's going to take account of inflation or so on. So this is that we need more detail, we really do, and more time.
Councillor Holland.
Yes, I wonder whether I might be permitted to put an amendment to the response here, because I'm in fully agreement with a lot of what's been said already. I do firmly think that we should oppose this deal as it's been proposed in this consultation. It's not because we're opposed to devolution. On the contrary, I think we'd all welcome it, but it's not a deal that brings additional powers and resources to the people of Norfolk. It has the potential to cause dispute and disconnect between the various layers of government. We've already seen that happening with some of the district councils and the county council. So it could even cause dispute within the county council itself. My main points here are the sums of money, as people keep saying, £20 million a year, that's derisory. That goes nowhere to supporting Norfolk's community or economy. It does little to solve the difficulties that the county council have found themselves in as a result of the significant government underfunding over the past 10 plus years. The second point is this proposed structure for a directly elected leader is the only one of its kind nationally. There's no real detail that I can see as to how it's supposed to work. It's got another layer of electoral process, which is at the moment will be out of sync with the county and the district election cycle. It provides a directly elected leader who might find themselves leading a council comprised primarily of members in various roles of opposition. The details about the governance and structure and management mechanisms of the role and any potential team are sketchy, to say the least, quite frankly. I've heard loads of people quote examples where they keep saying this is the only deal. But then they go on to say, but if we get a deal, you know, there's lots of opportunity for additional funding or additional responsibilities. But I'd have to say that given that this is a unique structure with a directly elected leader, there's no guarantee that you can expand or develop it any further. And there's certainly been no suggestion from government that that's a possibility. So quite honestly, for me, it feels like this is just playing with the idea of devolution, and it's just, you know, it doesn't solve any of the problems for Norfolk or actually produce any benefits for the communities. So frankly, I would urge members to reject it in its entirety. So where we've got strongly agree, frankly, I disagree, and I would like to propose that the council puts that forward. Thank you.
I mean, if that's strictly speaking, we with the amendment that's been put in front of you will be for you to support or not support. So you have got the opportunity to disagree with that amendment. If you want to put a specific amendment forward, then we can take an amendment from the floor, which is.
I would suggest that we should strongly disagree with this deal, and we should reject it in its entirety.
Just give me 2 minutes.
Can I just ask the monitoring officer to explain?
Yes, this is a challenging one, as it's a response to a consultation. So we just need to, what we're doing with this, whilst it isn't an amendment as such, we're going to deal with it as a mechanism, as an amendment, because I think that's the cleanest way to do it. So can I confirm, Councillor Holland, that your proposed amendment is that the responses in questions 1 through to 7 are all disagree? And do you have a seconder for that change to that consultation?
Okay, Councillor Beadle,
Councillor
thank you.
Beadle. Okay, so we'll deal with that and any discussion on that proposal. Yeah.
I say, I mean, the recommendation in front of you is approve the draft consultation as per Appendix A appended to the Norfolk County Council consultation on a county deal for Norfolk with any minor amendments. So that's the recommendation. But if you want to actually say disagree, okay, and we have a second. Do we have any other comments or on that? If not, yeah, Councillor Catchpole. Oh, sorry, is a second there.
Oh, yeah, do you want to say?
Sorry, do you want to speak now or reserve? Okay, Councillor Catchpole.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I would agree with this amendment because there will be another time, there will be another place, and I don't think now is the time or the place to make this county deal.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Henshaw.
I'm looking at this is the consultation. To say that we are dead against being part of the consultation seems to me to be rather a backward way of looking at it. We have got to look forward, and there's going to be a lot more talk on this. And to say that we're not interested in any part of the consultation, and take, for instance, question 1, it's asking us our opinion on if we agree that Norfolk should have more control over its money from the government. And to say that we disagree with that, to say that Norfolk shouldn't have more control over the money, seems, again, wrong to me. So I'm looking at this thinking that we've got a long way to go and we need to be part of any consultation.
I mean, I'll take Davis, Councillor Davis, and I'll take Councillor Catchpole again.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify what Councillor Emsall said there. What we're as I understand it, it's whether we agree or disagree, according to these ratings, on these individual points, not on whether the consultation should go ahead. That's later, or a separate issue, isn't it? What all we're looking at is these individual items, 1 through to 7, yeah, and whether we agree or disagree. Not in terms of a consultation, but whether it should go out as our view as a council. Just to clarify, yep. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'll take the decision to suspend standing orders. I know I made a joke earlier that when we get to 11 o'clock, I'll close the meeting, but because we have got other people who wish to speak twice, so I'll take Councillor Catchpole, but I will just say I do expect people to appreciate the fact we are counting standing orders to allow people to speak twice as part of this debate, partly because there's not a full room here tonight, so we've got limited people who will speak, but if it does get out of hand, then I will have to control it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just think that we are limited by the questions that have been posed in this consultation, and there doesn't seem to be a question which says, should we consider a county deal at this point in time? And so we are gagged almost by the fact that the question isn't there as to whether or not we want to consider it at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Councillor Vincent who wants to speak on this amendment. I take it.
Thank you, Chairman. Just see if I can clarify a few things and clear a few things up around where we are and what we're about. So this is about Broadland District Council's response to the County Council's consultation on the county deal. So that's what we're trying to land. That's what we're trying to get to an agreed approach on that. The Councillor Davis asked about the effectively the answer to the 7 questions, and he's quite correct that that's what we're trying to get to. Pick up Councillor Catchpole's point. The questions are the questions, and hence we've put a whole host of text in to try and expand our views, our thoughts, our concerns on different elements. So that's really where those different bits stand. The element around where I said no, this deal or no deal, again, not our choice. We're not party to that, other than we are all residents, and at some point we will get possibly to vote for a directly elected leader. But at this point in time, this choice will be made by County Council and not by us. All we're being asked to do is to respond to a consultation. and that's what we're pulling together. As far as blanket saying we disagree, I'm not sure that's the right approach, because, as I said, it is this deal or no deal. There isn't the opportunity to have a mayoral combined authority, which has been muted, but that's not available to us. That can't happen. That requires unanimous support of all councils across Norfolk, and that's never going to be achieved. If that was, we would see that was on the table, but it's not. It isn't going to happen. So we have to discount the fact that there'll ever be a mayoral combined authority, because that just isn't going to happen, which comes back to my point. We need to look at this and see whether this is something that we want to pursue, or whether something that we just say no to. Now, it seems a bit strange to me at this point in time to say no as a no when we don't have, as has already been alluded to, all the details. We're missing so much, we just don't know. So why don't we position it as we've tried to do here? We've raised a number of areas where we feel the deal could be made better. Now, whether that's achieved or not is another matter, and that's something between the county council and the government in their negotiations. Now, it may well be we get to December, which is a key point in a timetable, and the deal hasn't changed in any way, shape, or form. But we should, at that point in time, have a lot more detail, for example, around how the directly elected leader works, how their role sits within the county council, sits within the wider aspect of the devolved powers. All of those things are things we just don't know. There is no model we can compare this to because it doesn't exist at the moment. So it's one of those things that will come in time, that detail. And if it doesn't, well, I think that will speak for itself. But yeah, that choice will be made in December, but again, not by us. That won't be our call at that point in time.
Councillor Butcher.
I'm just a little bit concerned because I always look at it as Norfolk's a nice place to live and you know what you got to get. The problem with this so-called deal is if you don't accept it, there's no deal. Why are we going to try and support a county council going down an avenue where if the government turn around and say, this is the deal, if you don't like it, there's no deal. That doesn't actually sound what's good for Norfolk and Broadland residents. So what I'm trying to say is I never like to be I don't like to be the front runner that could lead to disaster. We don't actually, we know the money's derisory because 20 million, no indexing, that's already said that. So we're actually vying for something or giving our support, because that's what the original paper, that's why I'm supporting the amendment, where the council wants to support something that we know is not enough money, has never been tried anywhere else in the country. So do we really want to take the risk with Norfolk being put in that position of being in a deal that they wish they could get out of?
Okay, thank you. If there's no more comment, can I ask Councillor Beadle?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to thank Councillor Davis for summarising the amendment in such clarity. So when everybody knows exactly what this means now. There's no equivalent model, as repeatedly been said. There's not enough money, and it's a deal we could easily be locked into, which is actually of no benefit. And indeed, one could argue, as indeed I do, it's a smokescreen for cutting central government money to Norfolk. You know, they are slicing and dicing particularly the county council's budget, and they're just giving us crumbs off the table as a county. And so, yes, I'm very pleased to second this amendment, and I urge it that the whole council support it. Thank you.
Okay, in which case I think we can go to the vote on the amendment proposed by Councillor Catchpole and seconded by Councillor Beadle. Sorry, Councillor Holland. Sorry. Then I need glasses again, you see. Right. Can we have a show of hands, or everyone in favour of that amendment to reject everything? Sorry. Yep, I know you've spoken to her 3 times, but you can speak again.
I know, I can't help it. It's just, I can't stress enough that we don't agree with the deal. So to start putting strongly agree and agree into the consultation immediately starts to say that you're agreeing with that deal. I can see there's stuff underneath in the comments that don't agree with certain pieces, but that isn't sufficient if the broad stroke you're giving is strongly agree and agree, which is why I'm saying we don't want to do that.
Okay, thank you. Can we go for the vote? Those in favour of that proposed amendment, please show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Chair.
And those against that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, Chair.
And abstain? 1. Thank you. So that amendment is lost. If we can now revert to the original, we had a few questions that I believe the leader is going to answer, or the chief exec, or both. Yep. Sorry. I mean, if if we either go to leader question, or if we now want to debate the proposal by Councillor Vincent, seconded by Greg Peck, or Councillor Peck, which was to go with Appendix 1 as amended in the papers that you received today. If we haven't, sorry, Councillor Davis.
It's a point of clarification, really, and it's been alluded to already, and I'm not quite sure. I mean, I've read it again, the final page, or the last 2 pages on what happens next. And whilst it says the views of people, partners and other stakers consulted will be taken into consideration and so on, is there an offer? What I'm concerned about is as Councillor Vincent said, there's a consultation and it will go through to December. But then what will happen to those consultation responses from the districts, from residents, from businesses, in terms of affecting the overall deal? I'm not clear about that, because it goes back to county. And what will county do with it? And we don't know. And that's another unknown. And I fear that it's by launching into this consultation now, then it leads straight down the road to county just rubber stamping what we got, what they've already agreed, and going ahead with it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, now can we go to Councillor Vincent then for an answer to various questions that have been raised?
Yeah, but for clarity, this isn't me coming back as the responder.
No,
The proposer, you'll come back to me after
this is purely
going to the seconder.
to respond to the various questions.
Okay,
And
so
again, if the chief executive wishes to respond to any specific answers, then I will bring him in as well. Thank you.
okay, I'll try and work my way through these as best I can, and probably the easiest thing to do is deal with the last one first. So what happens next? My understanding is that, as you rightly said, the consultation responses will all go back to county. That's their opportunity to listen to residents, businesses, other councils across Norfolk. From that, I'm hoping that will give them some thoughts around, again, how the deal can be made better. Getting back to this point about trying to make it the best it can be. and take those points and use them as part of their negotiation with the government. As I said, that element will run to December, and again, as picking up the next steps, is that in December the county council have to take a vote to change their constitution to make this work, and that's why December is a key point in time. And effectively, the county council in their negotiations with government have between now and December to deal with that and get that to a place where hopefully they can come to us and say this is the best deal for Norfolk. But that's with them and not with us. So flicking through some of the other questions and things. So first one asked related to the pre-action protocol and where we stood on that. So Broadland has withdrawn from that pre-action protocol, and that's the rationale behind as to why we've withdrawn from it. Really goes back to why we went into it in the first place. So we went into it on the belief that the county council was not going to take a appropriate vote in their council meeting, and I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but they subsequently did take that vote. So all members of county council had a vote on the deal and the way in which the deal was to progress at that point in time. So that left us in a position where our rationale for being in the protocol had been satisfied, so we've withdrawn from that. I don't know about the other councils that were involved, whether they have or haven't withdrawn, not being in it anymore. I don't know the answer to that question. There was a number of questions about more information and about this being too early in the process. Again, we are where we are. The information we have is the information we've got. There is nothing more. So we're being asked on what we know at this point in time, and we're being asked how we feel about that. And again, I think within the consultation response, that's been summed up relatively well. The issue will be, and as such, the reason for going for a consultation is that fact to collect views, collect ideas, collect the opinion of various bodies, but ultimately that will be used by the county council in their decision-making process. So yeah, they will have to be mindful to the responses that came back from the consultation. That's what you'd expect from due process. Someone asked about the directly elected leader being paid, and again, I understand in the documentation it talks about them having an allowance, so or it being determined, I think, by the independent remuneration body. So it would have, and that's no different to us or to the current leader of the county council. He receives an allowance in the same way that we do. Again, there was talk about the impact on the communities and is their voice going to be heard as opposed to just businesses? And again, as the chairman reiterated, it's down for every individual to respond. They have the opportunity to respond with their thoughts, with their ideas, what they like, what they don't like. But that's quite clear in part of the process. In moving forward, there are a few things that seem, again, just to correct. So I think it was mentioned that we don't have a housing need. We don't need any more houses by Councillor Davis in his ward. I'd be very surprised if that's the case. We do have a housing need in Broadland, and there are a lot of people who are desperate to get a house. So we do have a housing list which has thousands of people on it. So to say we don't have a need is wrong, but I understand where you're coming from, but it doesn't quite make sense in the round of what we need to do. Same with building roads. If we don't build any roads, we don't get anywhere as such. Now, again, there's issues environmentally, and there's always a balance between those things. But we've only got to see the impact that the Broadland Northway has had. It's had a phenomenal impact in changing behaviours and changing the way in which people move around Norfolk, move around Norwich. I know from my own particular ward, it has benefited tremendously on one side, and on the other side it hasn't, on the basis that the road goes right through the middle of my ward. My ward is cut in two by the Broadland Northway, but the 3 villages in my ward now experience a better quality of life because actually there's less transiting cars through those villages. So while, yes, they've had to put up with the road, on the positive, they get less congestion, they get less traffic, they get less HGVs on wrong roads. So that's a real positive that's come from that. Hence our support as a council of the Western Link. We want to see the Western Link built and delivered because at the moment in that part of Broadland, that is causing all sorts of issues for our residents. And that's something that we would support and do support coming forward. There was talk about how the directly elected leader would be accountable. And again, that's one of those things we yet to find out. That's in the box of no idea. We wait and see. That's got to come out in the detail. We would expect it to come out in the detail, and why wouldn't it? So that's one of those ones we just need to wait and see. Another question was asked about a get out clause. So again, come back to the initial thing here that this isn't our choice around whether we do this or not. So get out clause, we don't have a get out clause. Do the county have a get out clause? I would guess you could say yes and no. So their get out clause is come December, they don't vote for the consultation for changes. It doesn't happen. That's their get out clause. If once it moves beyond that and starts to become part of, say we're in the world of where it's gone through all the legislation, we have a newly directed leader, he or her will then be in place. That's then how effectively that element of local government will work. Again, by then we should know what that is and know how that works. At the moment, we don't. We're guessing in between the spaces. But having put that in place, there isn't then going to be a get out clause. That's where we then are. So that's my understanding of it anyway. The only way that would change in the future would be then in the same way with any councils, if it changes, would be through something like local government review and actually changing the structures. But again, that's completely different to what we're looking at with the county deal. There's been a bit about the money aspect. Is the money enough? Yeah, money's never enough. We can always spend more than we're given. Again, to be fair, actually what has been negotiated for Norfolk is above what is in any other deal that is being offered. So from that point of view, it's good. On the other hand, we judge it ourselves and how that works. But again, come back to the point that was made, it isn't index linked. So it isn't, it is what it is and no more than that. There was talk also about budgets being sliced and diced and pressure being put on budgets in that way. Again, as I understand this process, it isn't about cutting budgets by the back door or reducing funding. It's trying to give more funding and it's trying to give it at a local level where decision making can be made around it. But to be clear, all councils have had a 3% uplift this year in their spending power. So they've received 3% more in their what they were going to receive from government. So that is in there, and that's same for us. That's the same for county council. So that's something that has been received this year. I think I've covered all the things about the mayoral combined authority. As I say, basically is this deal or no deal. But at some point, a choice has to be made whether this deal is the right deal. And I would say that point in time would be December, because that's when we're going to know the most about it, rather than stopping it at this point in time. So we have that opportunity at this point in time to progress and find out more and find out whether it's right for Norfolk. Hopefully, I think I've covered most, if not all, of the points that were raised. So I'll hand back to you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Did you wish to comment on anything outstanding?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Okay. In which case then, if that's response progression, I've still got the second and then the proposal to sum up, but do we have any other people who wish to speak before we go to that stage? No. In which case I'll ask Councillor Peck.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, first of all, I've been listening to the debate, and I'd like to put 2 or 3 things right. Councillor Beadle, I think, said it would be a rubber stamp job by the county council. If he thinks that the county councillors are all of one mind and they're going to agree to rubber stamp anything, he's completely wrong. And you only have to listen to the debate that was in county council on the county deal, and you can get it on YouTube, and to see that there were a varied number of opinions, and that still holds. And the point the leader has made is that this will, I'm talking about Sean here, he made it earlier, this will go to council, county council in December, and there will be, by that time, we will know what the constitutional arrangement is, what the scrutiny of a directly elected leader will be. And I can assure you, if the county council is not happy with that deal, they won't vote for it. So that's the first thing. People keep saying it's only £20 million. You obviously haven't read the papers. You haven't read any of the information. If you look at other devolution deals, and I appreciate this is not strictly the same, but most of them have had many, many iterations and much more money coming to them. If you look at the money that's gone to councils that are devolved, the money is completely different to what we're currently getting, for example. Now, this deal is per capita better than any MCA, I'm talking financially, in the country. It's also better than the councils that have already agreed this deal. So, you know, there are three other councils that have already signed up for this before we did. So, you know, to keep saying it's only 20 million is wrong, because the other powers follow, and we get more and more, we have more influence with government, and they will reward councils who have gone down this road. So that, you know, to keep going on about it, it's derisory, is rubbish, frankly. I appreciate that, you know, not everybody thinks it's a great idea, but, you know, we should, I think that the feeling when this was voted on at county council was that we should continue the process. And if we are not happy in December, we won't vote for it. As I think somebody else mentioned the fact that that we, I'm just trying to look at my notes here. Why is it that this is a deal or no deal, I think was the comment. Well, the reason for that is that government have chosen 9 councils to go down this route, of which we are one. If any one of those pull out, there are people queuing up to take our place. So if we pull out of this deal, we will go to the back of the queue, and there's no other deal being negotiated by government. We have it from the minister in writing that there's no opportunity. If we pull out, we basically stay as we are. Now, if you, as the opposition, are telling me that you want to stay as we are, managing decline, which is what we're doing, we're not getting enough money every year, then that's fine. That's a point of view, but I don't agree with it, and I think we need to pursue this deal to the very end. And I think the answers that have been put in the amendment sort of give us an overview of what the views of most of the people in the room here are thinking. Some are not happy with the deal, some are happy with it, some are undecided. But because we've said on the crucial point at the end about a directly elected leader that we neither agree or disagree, that is a true statement. We don't, because we don't know what the final issue is going to be. And I think that's a perfectly legitimate thing to put in. Maybe not what I agree, but it's perfectly legitimate to say that. So I fully support this amendment, and I think it's a very good compromise. I was very unhappy with the MCA part of it, every question having an MCA or similar, because I know I've seen the letter from the minister saying that will not be considered. So why would you keep talking about it? So I think we've got a very, very good amendment here, and I would recommend that everybody votes for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's always difficult when we get to key things that will change Norfolk, and this is one of those things. Hindsight will tell us whether it's good or bad. That doesn't help us today, and it won't help us over the coming months. But that's where we are. We've got to make a judgment as a county, as Norfolk, whether this will be a good thing, which brings with it a stronger voice for Norfolk. It will bring additional investment. It will bring more local decision making. All those things are part of what's being proposed. And that's where we find ourselves. As Councillor Pecker said, the mayoral combined authority is just not going to happen. That's not there. The ministers have told us that that's not something that we can pursue because it won't be delivered. Which then comes back to when we get to a point further down the road being December, this needs to be looked at as far as, is this the best deal for Norfolk, or do we open the box at that point and go no deal? That's the option we have as far as where that goes. The key thing with this is about opportunity. It's about opportunity for change. It's about opportunity to make things better. It's about opportunity to make things better for Norfolk in its totality. It's about making Norfolk a better place, but it's also about increasing the voice that Norfolk has at Westminster. So bringing more things here. So again, comes back to beyond where this deal lands is there opportunity for future deals? Now, we know where deals have been done before that they've all then had subsequent deals. That doesn't guarantee we'll get one, but it probably means that more will come our way. But we just don't know. So I'll pause there. I'll stop there because I feel like I've been rambling on. The recommendation is before you as amended with the papers that you've got. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Can we go to the vote then? Those in favour of the draft consultation as amended, please show.
15.
And those against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And right, okay. I've been advised that we need to vote again on that now becoming the substantive motive. So that was the amendment. So we're now voting on effectively the same thing. Sorry to keep you a bit longer, but it's fun, isn't it? So those in favour of the substantive motion. Thanks, Dawn. Yeah. Okay, and those against? Okay, thank you. And that brings us dead on 8 o'clock, end of the meeting. Thank you very much indeed for the debate. Thank you for your good behaviour.